and we are live. It is Thursday, July 21st, 1997. No, wait, sorry. 2022. But this is a really, really heady and heavy and impactful and awesome day in fish history today.
Yeah.
There's no fish show tonight, but we're going to talk about a pretty awesome fish show last night. But 25 years ago, Fish did something pretty cool. What did they do? I don't know. I'm not good at history.
They played a
I
concert,
mean, they
I think.
played an
Oh,
amazing show right in Jonathan's
neck
area
of the
that he
woods.
is. Yeah, his neck of the woods. An unbelievable show that was one of my favorite concert experiences I've ever been to.
They played a
Do we want
show
to
on July 21st,
clarify?
1997 at Virginia Beach, Virginia. They opened their summer 1997 tour on that day with Ghost, to which, if you
Mm.
had not heard a Fish show in 7 months, you were like, what the hell happened? Who is this? I don't know. Why are they playing percussive chords, and why is everything through a wah pedal? I don't know what's going on. I don't understand. And you weren't supposed to understand, and that was the beauty of it.
You were very happy, though. You were
You were very
throwing the
happy.
fuck down. Yeah, it was the debut of Cowfunk in America.
It really was, and that show was the first non 3.0 dinner and a movie
Mhm.
show that they played back in May of 2020, and I still recall like sitting on my couch, just like gripping the edges of my couch, being so excited.
That does not surprise me at all.
I was so stoked the entire time. The Ghost, the theme from the
Mm.
bottom, the Leroy Moore sits in, Incredible Wolfman's Incredible Gin, and then 5 years ago, which is very relevant for our guest here today. 5 years ago, the Baker's Dozen kicked off, which, if you take one swipe through Fish Twitter right now, you know that we're the first people to identify that. So
Mhm.
that's why you come here. Breaking news.
Yeah,
But
nobody
alas,
figured that out.
nobody
No.
figured that out. Alas, we are not here to talk about either of those events. Those will happen. We'll cover those in other cases. If you haven't heard Undermine Season 3, we talk in depth about the Baker's Dozen. I'd encourage you all to check that out. Just a little bit, 5 episodes dedicated to it, a little bit of time spent on that. And we've talked about 7/21/97 in other places. And you can hear Megan talk about 7/21/97 on the Attendance Bias podcast.
Yep, check it
We are
out.
here, though. Check it out. We are here, though, to talk about night two of the Mann Music, the TD Pavilion at the Mann. I'm just seeing on fish.net. They've
we can't
updated
call
this.
it that.
We can't call it that. I'm
What?
calling
Why
it
did
just the
they
Mann.
do that? So annoying.
Well,
Yeah, it's gotta be
because
just the Man.
TD Bank probably gave them a bunch of money, which allows the pavilion,
They
or
didn't
the
give
venue,
me
to
any
continue.
money, so I'm not
They
calling
did
it
not.
that.
No, which
I
is
like
probably
that,
why you went.
Jonathan. Yeah.
If you're not going to give me money, I'm not coming to your show. How about that, huh? I'll pay for the
No,
ticket, but you got to give me some money. We're going to talk about night 2 at the Mann from last night. We have an incredible guest coming up here shortly. Felicia D'Ambrosio is coming on the show. We're going to talk with her about, first and foremost, initial memories of the Baker's Dozen. We talked with her for Undermine Season 3, but being the anniversary, we have to get her thoughts on what she was doing 5 years ago right now, the anticipation, the excitement, the donuts. I mean, there's so much to dive into there, but we also want to talk about last night's show, which was a pretty interesting show. It was a really interesting night two. A lot of mini jams, a lot of jams that moved into other jams. A song that had been long forgotten as a jam vehicle that it seems to be maybe is back as a potential jam vehicle, and I'm kind of freaking out about it. We'll talk about that. Jonathan's giving me the look, so we're going to move on to the ads because we're going to talk on all about all this. We need to tell you really quickly before we launch into the content of today's show. Our first sponsor is
Passion House. Here at Osiris, we are powered by a few things. Music, of course, but also coffee. We're always drinking Passion House, and now we have our very own blend, Ocean of Osiris. I left my bag downstairs because that's where I make my coffee. But please visit passionhousecoffee.com to get some of this and their other coffee today. Use code OSIRIS for free shipping on every order. And we have a contest that we are running right now all summer long. For each Fish show, we're giving away bags of Ocean of Osiris coffee every time Fish plays an ocean song. And I use the air quotes, which is really good for radio because it's open to your interpretation. So every time you hear an ocean song, tag at OsirisPod and at Passion House Coffee on Twitter. Use the hashtag Ocean of Osiris, and we will select 2 winners at random each night if they play an ocean song. Do we have winners today?
We do. We got 2 winners. Are you ready?
2 winners.
Ooh,
2 winners.
yes.
Can I get a little drum roll?
No.
No,
I mean-
that sounds weird on radio.
I can't do that. I don't have any drums.
We got 2 winners right here.
Oh, yeah. We have the Beanstalk Library at Beanstalk Lib and Jordan Sheldon at Jordan
Oh,
Sheldon 3.
yay.
Congratulations,
Hey, Jordan.
guys. Enjoy the coffee, and which you should because it's amazing. I love it. If you go to passionhousecoffee.com, use code OSIRIS for free shipping. I also recommend the Lakeshore Drive blend. That's one that I've been getting a few times, so check that out. They have great stuff.
Really, really great stuff. I absolutely love Passion House, and working with them, it's a total pleasure. We also want to tell you about a couple upcoming live events. We wanted to encourage everyone who is coming to the Atlantic City shows to join us on Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Anchor Rock Club. We got 2 very unique, cool shows coming up for you. Saturday, John Barber of the Disco Biscuits will be playing an acoustic set. Sunday, Tom Marshall, RJB, I think Megan will be there, and
Yep.
HFPod friends will be there to do a breakdown of Fish's run in Atlantic City, as well as host an auction through Whatnot, the internet's fastest growing collectible marketplace that will benefit the Waterwheel Foundation. We auction off Fish vinyl, posters, shirts, and other hard to find memorabilia. So join us for both of these events. We want to thank our sponsors once again at Tonewood Brewing. These are free events. I want to be very clear, but you do need to reserve a spot. So get your tickets at osirispod.com/OsirisLive. And while you're on that page, say to yourself, hey, I think I'm going to Alpine, and I think I'm going to Dick's too, and I think I want to add another concert onto both of those trips, because why not? Live music is awesome. Remember that like 18-month period where we didn't have any live music? Remember that? I remember that. You were like, I'm just going to watch this archived concert from 1977 because like this is the closest thing I can get to the real thing. Well, now we have live music back, and Osiris Live is coming to Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Cooperage on Thursday, August 11th. For an evening of music and conversation featuring one of my favorite singer, songwriters, guitarists, musicians, people on the planet, Riley Walker. RJ and I will be interviewing Riley, and then he'll play a set of music at the Cooperage. It's a killer venue in a really cool part of Milwaukee. Get your tickets at osirispod.com/OsirisLive. And again, while you're there, be like, hey, there's one more event I should be looking at. Coming out to Dick's, come out one day early. The Larimer Lounge, we are hosting a live show with the band Taper's Choice on Wednesday, August 31st. Jonathan and I are going to be teaming up to interview Taper's Choice. They will then play a set of music. If you've heard any of their music, you know it's heavy and awesome and drony and funky and so many different types of music all boiled into one, and their jams are incredible. The dudes are awesome. I'm really stoked for this. Get your tickets at osirispod.com/OsirisLive and come out and see these 2 dudes at the top of the screen. If you're listening to this, you can't see us, but you know, we will be there. I don't know what hat I'm going to wear. I'm still trying to figure that out, but we will be there with questions for the band. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, these are going to be awesime events. I've already
these are
got my
gonna be-
outfits for Atlantic City, so just saying.
You've got them already. You got them
Yeah.
already.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very stoked. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's bring on Felicia, and we're gonna dive into night 2 at the Mann. Felicia, welcome to HF Pod. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing great.
Hi,
Awesome.
Felicia.
Hi.
So we are 5 days into summer 2022. Tell me, kind of just like generally speaking, what are your impressions of this tour so far as you were going into this run at the Mann?
Well, I feel like ever since we came back from the COVID pause, the shows have been amazing. I mean, I feel like we've been like on this steady uphill climb since we all came back together. And that's been my experience of being at the shows and of what I've seen on the webcast as well. I went to Deer Creek and to Mann, and it was just straight hose, my friends. Like, it's hose, and it happens really fast. We're getting somewhere in the jams really quickly. We've had some jams that are short but are like really interesting and go places really fast, and I love that about, kind of late stage fish is like we're not noodling and trying to like find the way as much, is very like focused, and I love that. I've been having a great time, and I think the energy is incredible. The crowds have been amazing. People are really kind to each other. It's been a really fun tour for me so far.
It's interesting the point about like how quickly they're getting to these jams. I'd be curious everyone's thoughts. Like, I feel like it works so well in both short jams where it feels like it's a lot longer than the jam. Like the jam comes up and
Mm.
you're like, oh my God, that was only 11 minutes, but it feels like there's so much music packed in there. But even like a Down with Disease or a Sand from Deer Creek, both of which crossed 30 minutes, neither of those sounded meandering. It just sounded like they were taking the same approach and just saying, there's another idea that evolved out of this. So we're just going to follow that. And another idea that evolves out of this. Like, there's never any moment of searching in these jams that really blows me away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's there's good examples of that from last night as well, for the shorter ones, and I think in particular there was a series of texts coming from you guys last night, or I can't point in the right direction on this thing, but you know who I'm talking about, where you were like, "Oh my God, that jam! How long was that jam? 14 minutes."
Yeah, I
You
lost
know,
track of
and I wasn't
time. I
listening at the
needed Brian to
time,
help
so
me. Yeah.
I was just kind of seeing the texts. I was doing something else and look at the text and I was like, wow, how long was that jam? And like look back and I was like, that's all? The way they're
Yeah, it was
talking
that
about it,
simple
they thought we got
jam.
another Down with Disease.
Yeah,
So
I
Yeah,
felt like I
that's
got lost
simple.
in it. I totally lost track of time and I couldn't tell if it was like 8 minutes or 25. So I have
love
Brian
that.
as my timekeeper, which is really helpful.
Well, it's very fitting that you're on the show for this discussion, Felicia, because I kind of track this beginning of this era where they could expand a song at any point in time to the Baker's Dozen. It feels like they set this challenge of themselves to say, we're not going to repeat a song over these 13 shows. And within that regard, we have to stretch some songs out that wouldn't necessarily be stretched out. And you saw it almost immediately on the first night that was 5 years ago. You saw it the first weekend with like a MoMA dance that just like goes out there, and it's ice that goes out there. And it really kind of allowed them this opportunity to be where they are now 5 years later, where they play Runaway Jim, and it's only 11 minutes, but there's a ton of expansion, a ton of ideas happening within there, like second or third song of the show. You had a very integral part in the Baker's Dozen. And as we're on the 5 year anniversary of that, I just want to ask you, in terms of what you were doing, I guess I'll just ask straight up, what were you doing 5 years ago right now? And how were you feeling going into the Baker's Dozen?
Okay, so it's 1:14 right now when we're recording this. I was, I think, on my way to the garden. I don't remember what time the meeting was that we had, our sort of like pre-show meeting to like finish the logistics was, but I was staying in Financial with my friend Dana and in Battery Park City, and I got on the train, and like literally 5 seconds before I like got on the train, because there's like Wi-Fi now or whatever in the train stations in New York City, so you can like check your phone while you're like on a train. And I'm like about to get on the train, and I looked at my Twitter, and Fish had posted the flavor for the day and announced that that there would be actual donuts at the dozen and how you would get them. And they tagged Federal Donuts, and they used the photo that our Lauren had taken, and I was just standing on the train, like looking at it with my heart like started pounding, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. Like this is happening. Like, I am.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I like got on the train and I came up, out of the train station, like cross 7th Avenue. And then I'm like going through the employee entrance of Madison Square Garden. So yeah, it was like an extremely exciting day for me personally. I know our amazing chef, Matt Fine, and crew at Federal Donuts had literally worked all night overnight to like make all these donuts and to get them to the garden on time and confirming that they were there, and everything was just like it really became really real in that moment, even though we'd all been working on it for a little while. So the fact that it was a secret up until that moment was also like
That's
not
impressive,
weighing
really.
on me. Yeah, but I like
Yeah.
holding this information obviously is like privileged information. Um when it finally got out, everyone was like, I can't believe you kept it a secret. And I was like,
And that
Yeah,
you
I mean,
just pulled it off. It must have been so nerve-wracking to pull off handing out all those donuts the first time, and getting them there, and like just the logistics of all of that must have been so intense.
yeah, the Lincoln Tunnel definitely gave me a few nightmares, like before, on the planning stage, having driven back and forth from Philly to New York a million times. But we just got everything there really early, and our crew was like, no, these donuts are gonna like be there by noon every day, because if something goes
Wow.
wrong later in the day, and I was like, my worst nightmare is like, oh, we're stuck in the Lincoln Tunnel and it's like 7:30 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it actually necessitated the donuts having their own security guard, because there was nowhere to like put them away, because we couldn't use any of the concourse, because that's all like licensed, from like their vendors, and
Yeah,
like they
right.
didn't agree to have like us on their, real estate, which is totally legit. So literally we're like stairwell dwellers, like living in the stairwell with our donuts. And so somebody needed to like keep an eye on them so they didn't get pilfered. So they had their own security guard who was ex New York City police officer. And I was like, you better take this seriously. This is important.
I love
This is a big
on
deal.
Undermine. When I heard that on Undermine, I was like, this is so cool. This is the stuff you would never know about. It's so awesome.
It was ridiculous.
I still think back. I was at the mall locally where I was living. I don't even know why I was there, but I can remember getting a text from a friend around this time, July 21st, 2017, and he was like, "You've got to check Fish Instagram right now. They've like taken this to another level." And at that point, we're just thinking like 13 nights at Madison Square Garden. This is the coolest thing. And I pull it up, and I just see like Coconut Night. I was like, what in the hell does this mean? And he starts sending me like Twitter threads of people already predicting what songs they're going to play tonight, and like Fish
That was
lyrics
me.
that have coconuts in it.
There's
That was all
Jonathan.
you.
That's all I was doing that day, because I wasn't in New York, unfortunately. But I was all over the internet, like, what is it going to be? And
Oh
and
my
we were
God.
largely wrong, but it was wonderful.
That's
But
like
I
the
don't
best
mind.
part about
Yeah,
it, is being
that
like,
was
they're
the
going to play
best.
this, and they don't play that, and they play something you totally don't expect, and being like, oh yeah, that is connected to coconuts or to double chocolate or whatever. But
Right.
it's crazy to me to think about like
I think we got better
how
at it too through the
people
through the
did, yeah. How the whole fan base was so shocked about this addition right before the show started, and it added another element to the entire run, where every day before a show you were like, what are they going to announce? How is this going to impact the set list? And yet you're walking around for months being like, I know how this is going to impact the overall Baker's Dozen, and I can't tell anyone. Like that, keeping that a secret had to just be like so intense and so stressful.
It was my boyfriend at the time, who I lived with, and also knew, he didn't know what any of the flavors were, because he was like, I don't want to know anything. Like, don't tell me anything. He just knew that it was gonna happen, because I obviously lived together, so I was like confide. He was my confidant, but he knew, and he was like, don't tell me. I want to be surprised. And then everybody, like some people were like, I can only come to like certain shows. So like, is it going to be peanut butter this night? Because I gotta know. And I was like, don't ask me anything. People were like gazing into my eyes, like trying to like penetrate my brain and secrets. I was like, go away. You can't tell me anything. Fish fans
Tell
are
me what you
intense.
know.
Mhm. Fish
that's
fans are intense.
amazing.
One last question about it, because I'll tell everyone that Felicia's featured at the top of episode 3 of season 3 of Undermine, where we talk in depth
good.
about the Baker's Dozen. You just like go through the entire planning, all the logistics of it. It's awesome. But I'm curious, like night one happens, you go into the show. Is there anything as you walked out of night one where you're like, we have to improve this for like the run to continue to be as successful? Or did you find like coming out of that first night that things were pretty successful on your end?
We had a very good group of volunteers that were coordinated through Water Wheel and Headcount, and they had 3 our donut captains who were like professional Water Wheel Headcount employees, and they coordinated all the volunteers and kept everything happening. So they really did like a lot of the work, and it was I like loved working with Water Wheel and Headcount and Beth. They are incredibly organized, kind, professional people, and so I actually felt like it went really well. Our crew didn't report any problems, so I think
Nice.
it was pretty
Awesome.
simple. I mean, we just bagged the donuts and hand them out. It wasn't anything elaborate, but some people were trying to like sneak around and get two and stuff, and we're like, get up that escalator. So it
Keep
was
it
like,
I want
moving.
this one to eat, and I'm going to put this one in my like
yes,
big
Hard
trunk
enough
of
to get
memorabilia.
one.
right. And so
Don't
Yeah.
go taking
we tried to
two.
make sure that people weren't like being greedy or whatever. But I did see a lot of people sharing at the dozen. Like people who did get a donut were definitely sharing them with other people, which was awesome. And I really appreciated that about fish fans. They're generally very kind and generous.
Yeah,
That is
I
a
don't know what
good-
I was doing wrong. I never got a donut, but
You had to come really early. I mean, you had to
I
be like
think
lined
maybe
up
I
for
wasn't.
doors.
Yeah.
There were so many people lined up for doors that the garden made all the food half price. Remember?
Yeah,
Because there were
Yep.
so many
Oh,
people
that's
in the building.
right.
that would come there early. Yeah, that was like a
Yeah,
cool
so many
feature.
more
Like
people
2
lined up
weeks
for
Forgot
early.
about
doors.
that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
shout
that,
out to
actually.
friend of the pod, Jackson Richards, who said, "I went to all 13. I didn't get any donuts," with a sad
Aw,
face. And then he clarifies, "It was my own
It was
fault,"
my own
which
fault. Yeah.
you had to be there right away, and that was
Yeah.
like part of the joy of this. Was
Yeah.
like, even if you didn't have a donut, like everybody technically had a donut because it impacted that show in such a huge way. Like I went cinnamon
Mm.
night. I did not have a donut, but I got to
I got one of
experience
those.
the don't eat the brown donuts voiceover that came on with the lights still on. I was like, what the hell is going on? This is so cool. So well, so much to remember about the Baker's Dozen. I can't believe it was 5 years ago. What an incredible time. Let's fast forward in time though to 2022. It's so much brighter, happier, more amazing to be here in America in 2022. But at least we have fish. We have another summer of fish tour. This is incredible stuff. Did you guys like that transition?
Yeah,
We
that
want
was
to talk.
interesting.
Bumpy ride.
That was a little bit bumpy. It's been that way. So to kick this off, so this was your second show of the summer tour. You said you went to Deer Creek as well. I want to ask you, we have one segment that we jump into before we get into the music, and that is the vibe of the show. There's a vibe that happens at every one of these fish shows that we cannot tell of what this was like from the couch. This is sponsored by Section 119, which we will just tell you all is the premier apparel brand where many fish fans shop to represent their favorite band in everyday life. Their sophisticated designs and epic quality, Section 119 offers donut-inspired button-down shirts, board shorts, and dry fit polos and hoodies, among many more awesome clothing types. Use code SUMMER22 for a 20% discount on your next purchase. You'll absolutely love your new gear. So, Felicia, tell me, what was the vibe last night coming into night 2 of the Man?
Pretty freaking sky high. Vibes are sky high on Man Lot. I think we also accepted that it was going to be really hot and that everybody was like, it's going to be so hot. So you just get there, you're really sweaty. You bring a fan, you have, dip the old bandana in the ice water cooler and just kind of enjoy that summer tour vibe. Yeah. I mean, everybody was really looking like they were having a good time. I saw a lot of great parties happening on the lot pre-show. There was a really nice shakedown, not huge, but like some really good food. I had the most amazing frozen iced coffee with like chaga mushrooms in it.
Oh my gosh, that sounds
You enjoy my
awesome.
vegan. Check you enjoy my vegan out on
Wow.
Shakedown. They're fine people with fine, delicious products. Yeah, I mean, the vibe was great. I think people love the Man. It's a small venue. The band played a bunch of awesome shows there really early and then didn't play for like ever. So when they came back in 2014, I felt like we felt really lucky that we were getting to see the band at the Man and not in Camden, even though we love Camden. But the Man just has a charming. You're making
You can
face,
love it. I don't
yeah.
I
necessarily
love
love it.
Camden too.
I've seen
Good
good
shows.
shows
Lot
there
is
though.
super
Good
fun.
shows.
Yeah,
Good shows at
good
Camden.
shows.
Yeah, the Man is way more charming.
Yeah.
It's a small shed. The
Yep.
cap is only 14,000. So we love that, like really small. That might be the smallest venue on the tour.
It might be, yeah.
And it's definitely the
Mm.
smallest pit. I mean, that is the smallest pit I've ever been in. I would be surprised if there's 250 people
Wow.
in there.
It's
That's
tiny.
Which
I've
is
been in
cool,
there.
yeah. And I think that it's a cedar shed and it was built in 1976, like for the bicentennial in Philadelphia as like the summer home for the Philadelphia Orchestra. So it sounds amazing in there.
That's awesome.
The sound in the Man is perfect. It's immaculate, which I really think contributes to like the good feeling and the good vibes at the Man in general. And of course, for me, it's a hometown show. So I'm super happy, like, walking around the lot, like smiling my face off because everybody's here, which, it just feels good to have fish like come to your town.
It's a nice
I've
lot.
only
There's trees around.
yeah.
Yeah,
Park
is it a
and
I love it.
grass.
grassy lot? That's so
Yep.
nice. I
Yeah.
gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's got a very unique feel. I mean, it there's a Merriweather type vibe to it in a sense. There's like a
Yeah.
SPAC
Reminds
type
me more
vibe
of
to it in
Wolf
a
Yeah.
Trap if
sense.
you've ever been to Wolf
Wolf
Trap.
Trap, totally. That's a
Yeah.
great call.
It's in a
It's
park.
just like it's a park.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful venue, and I've only seen one show there. It's the only time I've ever seen Fish in Philadelphia, and there's definitely a vibe to Philadelphia Fish that like everywhere you go up and down the sea, like the eastern seaboard, there's like a different vibe. You go to
Mhm.
New York City, it's like holy shit, we're seeing Fish in New York City. This is the biggest place in America to see this band. Philadelphia feels like it's like the furthest reach south of their home territory in a sense, and like they treat it in a weird way like a hometown show. At least that's like the vibe I've always gotten listening to it, is that they know they have a hardcore fan base there. They know that people from around that region will travel to see there, so it feels kind of like the furthest existence of seeing them in the Northeast.
Second time I saw Fish in Philly, Trey came out and said, that he saw Jethro Tull in that room. It was at the Spectrum when he was a kid.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
like, it
Mhm.
is hometown-ish for him, even
That's
though
a
Yeah.
good
Yeah,
he's
I
point.
mean, they're
from
from New
Jersey.
Jersey.
He's a
Yeah.
Flyers fan. Like
Yeah.
he's like
Yeah.
he identifies with
Yeah.
Philadelphia culture in a way that like they
I
identify
don't.
with Boston the way that you don't. Yes.
Just kidding.
So
Hey, I'm from Philly. I can take it.
that is it.
That was a
Exactly.
softball if I ever threw
Roya
anything.
Stones.
what was the shirt that you posted this morning, Jonathan? The
Oh,
Philadelphia
yeah.
shirt.
Oh, in Philadelphia where the
Philadelphia,
weak get
where the weak
killed
are
and eaten?
killed and eaten.
So good.
It's a good
That's it
shirt.
right
I
there.
don't know why anybody would put it on a shirt, but I like it.
I think
Because
actually,
it's
I think
funny.
I am friends with the person who made that shirt. I think Shaky made it at Awesome Dudes. When I saw
There
it
you
today,
That's
go.
awesome.
I think I know that shirt.
So let's get to the show. So it's hot in the lot, it's hot in the venue, but we deal. We make do. We're not going to be turned away by bad weather, as we know from the experiences of seeing Fish. So set one, we get appropriately a Steam opener that I think is kind of a response to the overall weather. We get Steam, Runaway Jim, Tila, Kill Devil Falls, Theme from the Bottom, Birds of a Feather, I Didn't Know, Funky Bitch, and Split Open and Melt. And I will just say my son, when Funky Bitch came on, goes, "What's the name of this song?" And I was trying to scramble to figure out how to identify this song to an almost 7-year-old. But tell
Just
me,
tell 'em.
Felicia, just tell him, just get it over with.
It's
Tell me,
about a
Felicia,
cool
what
ass
was
lady.
there you go. There it is. What was your like big highlight and big takeaway from set one?
Obviously, I really thought that the Tila was like a nice treat, and it actually did seem to like cool it down for a second in there. We had like some breezes and winds, and that was really sweet and beautiful. Also, I don't know, everything was really good. I felt like all these different songs had a different highlight to them. I really enjoyed watching Trey play the drums during I Didn't Know. I feel like Fishman on the
Yeah.
Vacuum is funny, but Trey playing the drums is funnier. The
Yeah.
faces that he makes when he's drumming are amazing. He's so full of joy and he's just like silly and laughing. I kind of loved that. And then yeah, obviously the Split Open and Melt. I mean, that's the highlight. And it again, short, to the point, scary, rhythmic, and then just boom.
I'm looking at the stats of it. So I didn't know it was played at Atlantic City last year, but this is only the second performance since they came back post COVID. I don't recall the version from Atlantic City, but last night felt like he was behind the drum kit and he was like, "I'm going to get back at you for every time you put a sample in a song that I didn't want to sample it." And he was just like going wild. Like that was all he was playing for like
It's like,
30 seconds.
yeah. And then he'd like hit a different one. Yeah. He was so
Yeah.
pleased with himself. That was like the only one of those few moments that I love being on Couch Tour because you can like see his face really close up. And I was like, yes, he is loving this. This is great.
It was a good way to get back at him. I found, for me musically, the Melt was absolutely incredible. It was. I texted the group. It was like a My Bloody Valentine type of jam where it just felt like Trey was playing like 800 guitars at once. It was just this like drone over the crowd. But I love how quickly they can get out there with Kill Devil Falls now, and how easily that song just moves into this melodic, beautiful space. Got really psychedelic, was a really nice segue into Theme from the Bottom. And that and Runaway Jim kind of set the table for me of like, we may not get the longest jams tonight, but there's going to be a ton of creativity in here.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of night 2 at Great Woods, where it's just like they're just finding these really interesting spots like right away and just taking these little micro jams out with really full of ideas. I also love the Kill Devil Falls. The effects Trey was using were just super cool and like a butter landing in theme. And I felt like the Split Open and Melt should have been in like, I think I texted our group text, like it should have been in the space set last night. It was like super spacey and weird and dissonant, and Mike's got the drill out, and it's just like it's just drippy. It was cool. It was a great end to end set, and really just like great playing throughout.
Yeah, big fan of that melt. I saw other people on Twitter last night dropping My Bloody Valentine and shoegaze references to that performance, and I could hear it when I listened this morning. I think they need an arrow on the set list. I'm not one who to dicker about these kinds of things, but Kill Devil Falls, that they're not done. There's no stop when Trey starts playing
It's
theme.
direct.
Like
Oh, there's not an
stuff,
arrow.
stuff's
You're
happening,
right.
and then Trey starts playing theme, and I think might be my highlight of the set if they hadn't played Split Open and Melt. Um, but because I really like where they got in Kill Devil Falls, and the transition just kind of sliding in to theme was really cool.
I'm curious you guys' thoughts on like, we've seen one jam this entire tour across 20 minutes, and it went to the 30-minute mark. It seems to me like this is a growing trend in Phish's playing. You could date this all the way back to like the start of 3.0, but I think they're really good at it right now, where they could play a song for 8 minutes and it feels like it's a 25-minute long jam in this sort of standpoint. Like, Felicia, when you were at the show last night, are you feeling yourself being kind of like lost in time to like the Runaway Jim, to the Kill Devil Falls, the Split Open Melt? What was that like in the venue?
Definitely. I get that sense from Fish very much, that time sort of like stretches and then like compresses and like moves around to like fill the available space.
Mm-hmm.
It is so hard to tell how long things have been happening for me in the song, especially with like dancing and
Yeah.
trying to like stay engaged with what's going on. I have no idea when I am, like, ever.
Yeah,
I
if
love
you're
that
not
think
feeling.
about
a watch wearer, then it's real easy to slip out of
Right.
it.
Yeah,
I
I
think about it
definitely
a lot
agree.
as well.
I've never been attached to time in general, which I think is why I like Fish, because it
Yeah.
has that timeless quality, where you're like, I'm
Totally.
not thinking.
Yeah, you're just in
I
the
think about it a
moment.
lot with like some of these newer songs that have become jam vehicles like Ruby Waves and Soul Planet. When you hear these songs and when they're placed with extended jams that come out of them, you listen to the song back the next day on Live Fish. The song proper of Ruby Waves or Soul Planet is usually like averages 250, 330. And then you're just like, you're gone and you're in a jam. And by the time they get to like a 6-minute mark, you already have crossed through various segments of improvisation, and you know that if it is the band feeling it, are they going to keep pushing this, or are they going to kind of rein this in and segue into a new song? And that 3 minutes can end up feeling like 9 or 10 minutes in terms of an older Fish jam where there was a lot
Mm-hmm.
of like searching, where there was a lot of like, where are we going next? Okay, let's all get on the same page. They kind of just get on that page and they just run with it. And as we get into set 2, I mean, that feels like a big theme early on in this tour to me. Any other thoughts that you guys have about set 1? Any other oddities that stick out from being in there? We can
No,
jump
I don't think
into.
so.
Yeah,
Let's
those are
jump
some
into.
good highlights. You have some
Those
good
are some
ears.
good highlights. It was a good set 1. Let's
Nailed it.
jump into. Nailed it. We did it. Let's jump into a quick set break diversion. Megan, do you want to tell us about our sponsor for our segment on set break?
Yeah, it's our favorite people at Sunset Lake CBD. These guys are awesome, and their line of smokable hemp products are for the old deadhead or for the young fish fan, anyone that likes to be in the moment and forget about time and search for a mellow body high. So, smoking CBD has all the benefits of high THC cannabis, but you're not going to have those paranoid and anxious side effects. They have 9 different strains from this year's harvest. There's something for everyone. The Hawaiian Haze is awesome for an outdoor show, and Cherry Abacus is the best for the end of the night. And all their flower is grown, cured, and trimmed by Sunset Lake CBD farmers. And they're great because they have this farm to table approach. So you can get really great pricing because they're shipping their products directly from the farm to your door. They have really fast shipping. Before I was introduced to Sunset Lake, I didn't really know about smokable hemp. And it is really great for someone that likes to smoke weed but doesn't want to get high all the time and just wants to chill out and relax. And it's really, really great for at the end of the show on summer tour. So it's a great way to wind down. And I would highly recommend you check them out at sunsetlakecbd.com. Use the coupon code HFPod. You're going to get 20% off all the products. That's Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned, Vermont grown.
And with it being set break, Felicia, we have to ask you, do you have a set break routine, or do you just kind of like go at your whim of how you're feeling based on the show?
I try to be on the floor if possible. So I am definitely someone who will like dip out and use the bathroom right before set break. Like, cause you can always, like, I wouldn't have during that melt last night. Like I would have worked it out, but usually I'll go like use the bathroom right before set break starts. And then I'll come back and just like hold down the spot. I have extreme like spot anxiety. So being like absent for a long time makes me like feel really nervous. And also when I go out for set break, especially at a hometown show, there's so many people there that I want to talk to that I end up being away for like way too long. So I do love socializing like after the show when the spot anxiety has dissipated. So yeah, being nervous is my set break ritual.
This is such it's so funny because our guests on yesterday, we had Scott Marks and the guys from Weekend Work, and Scott was very much in your perspective along with mine. And I think we all share this here, that when the band is off stage, like anxiety just returns of like, I need to stay right here. I cannot move, because if they come back on and I miss this, like I've messed up. This is on me if it happens. So I just sit down and just like let everybody else come and go. I'm right there with you.
I used to think I was like a laid back person. And then when I was like 30, I was like, no way. I am so neurotic and like high strung. Like, why did I ever think I was chill? I'm not.
Yeah, same.
I'm not chill
I used to
either.
think I was the most relaxed person. And then I realized that no, I'm really the opposite of that.
Yeah.
That's what aging does to us. We get to really know ourselves.
Yeah, you're like, I'm just a stoner. I'm not like relaxed.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I met one of my best friends at SPAC 2010 at Set Break, and we didn't become friends for a couple of years because in the moment I met him because my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, was friends with his wife. And so we went to meet them. And the whole time I was standing there being like, who the fuck are these people? Why am I talking to them right now? I want to get back to my spot for the set. And then of course the set started and I missed it. And I had a lot of resentment, and I had to tell him about that 5 years later. And he was like, that is the perfect way to meet each other at a Fish show. Cause we both have the same scent. He was standing there being like, why am I talking to these people?
Freaked out too.
I don't know who these people are. So we all have a great time during the show. Set break. We all are just like, come back on stage, guys. Let's do this. And let's jump into set 2 with that. We had a pretty fluid second set with a return of a jam vehicle that we're going to talk about here. But we had AC/DC Bag into Soul Planet, into Simple, into Light, into Party Time, Lonely Trip as our sole ballad of the entire set, and then ending with a really high quality David Bowie. Tell us, Felicia, what was your highlight of this overall set, and what were your kind of impressions of it?
Well, we got to talk about the bag, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So is it going to come back and jam? Because it kind of did last night. We're very excited about that. I think everybody was
kind of freaking
out on the floor. Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, we were definitely freaking out. It's one of those moments where you like, look at your friend who's next to you and like, is this happening? Are they going to do it?
Yeah.
So that was really exciting way to start the set. And plus, what a great song. It's just like such a great classic Fish song. Fun. Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah, that was definitely a great way to start. And then just the fact that the Simple Jam was like the extension of the scary, evil, spacey jazz Melt Jam. That was one where I looked at Calico, who was next to me, and she's got this, beautiful woman, and she's making the most like disgusting funk face because it's getting like so gross, in there. And I was like, in it. I mean, I didn't stop moving for that whole second set. I was just like totally soaked and dancing, and everyone around me was just like getting down as hard as they could. It was amazing actually, because it was truly really hot. Like I remember during
Hmm.
the second set thinking like, I don't know if how long I can do this, but I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
gonna push through. You know, it was fun.
Well, putting the bag into context, because we were talking yesterday on the podcast about Haley's Comet, and that like for so long Haley's Comet would start, and you'd have this sentiment of like, was that an extra riff? Does this mean like, and you'd kind of like your heart would start racing. You're like, are they going to jam it? And then Trey would just go into like sample in the jar or something, like, oh God, he like Scott Marks compared it to Lucy with the football, that you were just like, I believe this time. I totally
Yeah.
believe. And AC/DC Bag has started to be that way. They opened up the second set of Velvet Night with AC/DC Bag. And at that point, we kind of knew there are jams coming in unexpected places. Is this going to be the first time that happens? Did not. It opened up the second set of Deer Creek Night 1 last year. Again, did not jam. So when it opened up here, the only thing that gave me hope was you could hear when they walked on stage Trey play Soul Planet. Like he played the first couple a couple chords of Soul Planet, and then stopped and went to Bag. And a friend of mine texted me and was like, does that
Mm.
mean like, did he, because Soul Planet just jams every time. It's got like the highest batting average of any Fish song. And when AC/DC Bag went out and just completely changed and just peaked into this jamming space, my phone kind of exploded. And I'm sure I was not alone in that, of just like every Fish fan from every corner of life was like, oh my God, this is happening again. And first time since Coventry, we got an extended AC/DC Bag. It's just an amazing thing.
It was so great too. I mean, it's funny listening back today to it. I was thinking about, what AC/DC Bag sounded like in like the early 90s. And it's like a runaway train. The song is just like so much energy and just, it's almost like playing Trey, it's just so intense. And now I was listening last night, and that's the thing about Couch Tour, you're like really listening in the way that like when you're at a show, you're dancing and you've got your eyes closed and you're just when you're on Couch Tour, you're like sitting there. And I was just thinking like he played it really, really well. And it doesn't have that same kind of like ruthlessness that it had back then, but it was such a strong version. And to hear them kind of go off, and what a great jam that came out of it. I mean, I thought it was going to keep going. I think it could have, but Trey loves to play Soul Planet, and that's okay.
Well, and I do wonder, we talked about it, like Chalk Dust Torture did this in late 2012, where it had a couple
Mm.
of versions that summer where it like hinted at going out, and it was 10, 11 minutes, crossed into a different key, went like rhythmically in a different place, and was not coming back to Chalk Dust, would segue into another song. And then obviously that version from August 31st 2012, the Fuck Your Face show, it goes almost 20 minutes. It's this monumental version, and everything since then has been pretty significant from a jamming standpoint. It would be really cool to hear AC/DC Bag move into this space where they could open up second sets with it, and you're in a reliable 16 to 20-minute jam space. I don't know. I'm all for this. You
They can get
mentioned.
away with a
Go
10-minute
ahead.
version just like this, though, and
Yeah,
nobody seems to be upset about it. So that's fine too. I
Totally.
think it's a
totally
perfect
agree.
example of how they can just get there whenever they want, and
Well,
uh,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
that's
So
a
the
really good
next
point, and I want
two
to.
AC/DC bags, I promise you, will be short, and everybody will be like, "God damn it!" And then they'll come back and do a 30-minute one just to fuck with us.
That's right.
It's a really good point, and it was highlighted by listener Russ Tab, who said they've been taking less time in the Type 1 stage early in
Hmm.
jams, getting right to it. I feel like we were talking about this in set 1. I'm curious your guys' thoughts if you heard it at all last night, where it doesn't feel like they finish a song and they don't feel the need to play 3 or 4 minutes of riffing around the song's theme. They kind of just
Hmm.
find a way out and they just go. And that leads to like a 10-minute ACDC bag that could have been 14, could have been 18 minutes. And like the time again becomes irrelevant.
Well, it's just like you were saying at the beginning, Felicia, that yeah, they're able to get there right away now. It's exciting.
And they did that throughout this set. You talked
Mhm.
about the simple. That got to this like just dark, just kind
So
of
scary.
horrifying, but really funky, really danceable space. Um, I absolutely loved that. What were you guys' thoughts on the simple?
Yeah, I could hear a lot of like melody over some of the more dissonant, weird noises, which I thought was pretty cool. I haven't heard that as much. Like I was thinking about what they were doing last fall and how it was getting super weird and dissonant and ambient. And it was cool to hear them kind of searching for melody over that. And that was exciting to me. I thought that would be like a really cool direction for them to go in. But I thought it was awesome. That was definitely my highlight of the set, the bag and the simple.
Yeah, there was a great like kind of like rhythmic bass like driving quality too to the last part of the simple, which it felt really heavy, but also like Megan said, that searching for melody, like above and throughout that very kind of intense, dark beat and rhythm was like really powerful. You could really feel it too. Like I was like the air was like vibrating. It was really intense. I got the feeling too sometimes that they make these like architectural jams, I call them, where they like are building something. And I feel like it's this big, like invisible, like sonic temple. And it keeps getting like bigger and like more psychedelic. And that was how I felt last night. And I was like extremely sober too. So that's not.
You're like, just to be clear.
Well, I think at that point,
it doesn't sound like a sober mind thought, but I totally I follow it. And I respect
that
awesome
point
thought.
is like that is such an interesting thing of like the difference between hearing a jam like the simple, which you can fully appreciate from Couch Tour, and you're like, oh my god, like they're playing incredible music. But when you're in the venue, no matter what you've put in or have not put in your body for that show, you know that like it's taken to another level because you're in this space where they're kind of controlling everything sonically, everything's like from a like a sensual like experience in terms of like how you're like taking this all in. They're building that, and it feels like it's everything in the moment, no matter what you've ingested or not. You know what I mean? Whereas like for me, I'm walking in and outside of my house to go change, the water, where it's, like where the sprinkler is and stuff. And like, I'm coming back in, I'm like, oh my God, this is so psychotic and like incredible music. You're like fully trapped in that space when they're playing this type of music.
Yeah, and I love Couch Tour, and I love that we have the webcast. I think that they are the coolest gift, and being able to like listen to a show right after it's played, like from a soundboard, like the technology that we've been like given is incredible. But my friend Greg said this the other day because people were criticizing one of the shows, Deer Creek or something, and he was like, the show is played for the people who are there. And it matters like what the people who are there really like, what their experience is like the whole point of the show. Like you can
totally
and totally have your musical opinion in your ear and you can hear it clearly. Like, of course you can have an opinion, but like the show is for the people who are at the show. And
that's why you're here.
Yeah, that right. And that's
why we need you.
People like Phish fans can be like kind of like bickery and like picky, like on social media and like really complain about like all kinds of things. And it's like, I don't notice if there's flubs. Like it doesn't, I'm just not paying attention for it. I'm not a musician and I don't care. I care about the energy and the vibe and the way that everybody is feeling together and what's happening on the stage. Not like, oh, this composed section, they like missed all these notes. Like who cares? Doesn't matter.
Well, when you're there, it's such a good point. Like, and I think it's one of the, I don't want to say drawbacks of Couch Tour, because again, I'm like so thankful that I can listen to every single show and watch every single show in the moment that I can't be at. But there's definitely something when they play a multi-night run where when they come out on stage and you went to the night before and you're back for this night, there's like a shared, we're in this together, where like you can see, you're seeing the band as they've experienced life in the city that you're in and the heat that you're dealing with and any sort of vibes that were carried over from the night before to tonight. Like that feels more connected inside of the venue than I think it does for those of us who are watching the same show back at home, not exhausted from dancing in the heat the night before. Like I feel perfectly rested. You feel the feelings of like what it's like to have gone to a Phish show the last night. And I don't know, there's something that you just can't even fully describe and discern in terms of like being at home watching this versus being in the room. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't really like Couch Tour, to be honest. Like I do it because I want to see the show and I want to be able to talk about it and I want to hear the music as it's being played. I like being like a part of that experience. But I don't even compare the two experiences. It's like I'm just a totally different listener I'm just distracted. I'm not in the moment. I'm thinking about other things. It's a different experience for me. And
Moving
it's
the
not my
sprinkler
favorite.
around, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Feeding your
doing
Watering
kids.
lawns. Who waters
Yeah.
lawns?
Watering
Come on, man. Jesus Christ. Grass.
Watering flowers.
Don't get me started on that. But I want to just chime in on this point because
Yeah.
I when I do couch tour live, half the time I'm not even looking at the screen. Uh, when I'm like today, I didn't watch the show last night, so today I'm re-listening. I actually have been doing this more and more as sort of a focused listening exercise, which is I put my guitar in my lap and try to play along, but I can't keep up with these guys. I'm not that kind of musician, but it's more about listening to the changes and the transitions in the jams. And I was doing that with Simple and just rode that wave right on into Light. And like, I don't know, if you ask me to sit down and play a Fish song, I can't do that. I don't know them. I've never tried really, except for maybe two, and I don't really, maybe three. Uh, Nothing from this show.
Maybe 4. I put on an EP
Maybe.
of all Fish
Well, I
covers.
mean, I did record a version of Dirt once that we won't talk about, but I rolled into Light and I was playing Light, so I was very in the zone because I actually landed in the right chords in the right place, and that transition to me that's my highlight of the second set. The jam Jam and Simple is really great. The flow, the way it went into Light, that's where I live in this show. That was an immaculate point. And yes, not even remotely the same experience as being in the building because I cannot simulate the sound of the PA through the appropriate humidity. Although with this AC off in here, it's getting close. But that's part of the show too. Like every bit, like it's not just four guys playing instruments, but it's the whole construct of a PA in a particular room. Like Felicia, you talked about how the Mann sounds really good, and it sounds different from Bethel where they're playing next. It's just that's part of it, and you don't get that at home. So
No.
So we'll leave it
One more
to people who are there.
quick thought on that, just because I'm thinking about it. I went to a couple of the fall tour shows last year, and they were all incredible, and they all sound incredible on record. When I listen back to them, but they're all amazing in the moment. But I did not go to Vegas. My wife went solo to Vegas, and I was couch touring the first night, and they open up with a 2001 jam into 1999.
Oh my God, I love that stretch so much. Oh my God, it's so good. I love to run to that. Sorry, go ahead.
I just remember sitting on my couch, eating popcorn, drinking water, hanging out, watching the show. My kids are asleep down the hall. And they go into 1999 and being like viscerally terrified for everyone in the venue because it felt too big. Like it felt like
oh my God,
people
song
are choice,
screaming.
Too much jamming. Like we're literally not even 20 minutes into the concert. There's another 2.5 hours to go plus a set break. Like I was sitting there like actually terrified for people in the venue. And I was like, I'm kind of glad I'm not there because this feels too much right now.
I was like on my knees, like so sad. Yeah. Yeah. I was on my knees, like devastated I wasn't there. That was my fucking jam. So I'm glad you were there, Jonathan.
Yeah.
You made it out alive.
Yeah, can confirm the building was like jumping up and down with everyone in there. It was insane.
I love that.
Yeah, everyone was freaking out. And during If 6 Was 9 on that night,
oh my God.
Sam Moss gave me his rail spot like for the song, and I don't think he knew it was going to be like really long time. But I was up there, and the woman who was next to me and we're literally just like screaming and laughing because there was nothing left to do. I was like, I can't dance any harder. I can't smile any bigger. Like everyone was losing it because that show was so crazy. That was my highlight of that whole run. It was so fun.
That show was
pretty
awesome.
Insane. It was a blast.
Vegas. I still kind of can't believe that run happened. That was just
can't believe they played that song. Actually.
Yeah,
I know.
No, that whole thing was crazy.
I thought it was War Pigs.
Oh yeah, when they started
first beat,
and I was like weird. But then it was not, and we were like, better.
I have to ask you guys just one last question about the second set here. They play a version of David Bowie that I thought was quite good. And Jonathan, you are if there's one role you have in this entire universe of fish, it is to review and give us an exclamation point or a critique of David Bowie's. What were your thoughts on this David Bowie?
Pretty good. Pretty good
Okay.
for a keeping your feet on the ground David Bowie. It was a lot of
Yes.
fun. It was not broken or bad in any way. I want that, but like pack that simple jam in the middle of it or something. Like I want them to like do that, but go out also, please.
It'll happen.
I like it.
It'll
How about you,
happen.
Felicia? What'd you think about it in the room?
I thought it was pretty tight Bowie. I mean, it sounded really good to me, and it was definitely kind of like well placed for that time.
Mhm.
I will say people definitely still do not know the difference between Maze and Bowie.
Even though Maze is like, it was just played, they're not going to repeat it at this point in
Yeah.
the tour. Yeah, no, I get it. It's funny.
Yeah.
I was texting with Scott Marks during the show because we talked yesterday on the episode about like, well, when are they going to jam out AC/DC Bag? And they start jamming it out, and he was like, I guarantee you, Trey is listening to this show and taking cues. So like, if that happens, I don't think it does.
You heard me, Trey.
But
Yes.
we would love for you to do whatever you did to the AC/DC Bag to David Bowie. We would kill about that.
I
we
will
would kill for
say
that.
I have given him some crap for some of the David Bowies in the past couple years. None of that crap it stands for this one. This one was a good, solid David Bowie.
Perfectly played. Like really well played.
Very good stuff. Very,
Yeah, and we
very
need
Take
to
it out
put
for
this
ice
like
cream.
nonsense about Trey having arthritis and all this other bullshit to rest. I mean, the way his
That's
fingers
me.
were moving during Bowie and Bag, I mean, he was nailing everything super fast. Like, just stop with that stuff. It's ridiculous.
We will talk more about that on our Fish Health and Wellness podcast, where we analyze everything that happens on stage from a medical standpoint. No. Any last thoughts that you have, Felicia, walking away from the Man as you head towards Bethel and you head towards Woodstock?
Oh, I'm super excited. Just, thanks to everybody who came and watched on the webcast and checked it out with us. It was really, really special to have Fish at home.
It's a good thing.
Yay.
It's a really good thing. We got to have you back on here before the end of summer tour. So let's chat offline about some shows you're hitting up, and safe travels to Bethel. And we'll talk with you a little bit further down the road.
Thanks so much, guys. It was so nice to talk to you.
It's awesome to have you on. Thank you, Felicia.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. All right. So we are through 5 shows of summer tour. On the spring tour, we were approaching the final weekend of the overall tour, but we are going to keep rolling here. The band is going to keep rolling. We will be back on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern to review night 1 of Bethel. We have 2 fantastic guests for that. We have Jen Moore as well as David Early. We will be doing a Bethel night 2 recap, and then the night of the Hartford show, we're going to do our first pre-show hang of the overall summer. So
I forgot about that. That's so fun.
30 minutes before showtime, or before, I should say that again, 30 minutes before the webcast starts. So no one, you heard us talk during set break. We all have anxiety for when is Fish going to come on stage. We don't want any of you viewers out there to have that anxiety. So we will go live 30 minutes before the webcast starts. We'll hang out, we'll talk, we'll do a bunch of stuff. And then we will cover both Bethel shows as well as the Hartford show at 1 p.m. Eastern. So thank you everyone out there for hanging with us. Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We will see you all here soon.
Bye, everyone.